I'm going to talk to you about how to escape 9 to 5 and how to get things done with virtual assistants. How many of you are familiar with the concept of virtual assistant? Please raise your hand. Around half of you, a bit more. All right, great. So I've been using virtual assistants myself already for years, and I really feel that they have upgraded my work week in a way that they brought balance to my work time and my free time. Working feels much more exciting with virtual assistants because what I think every day, I think how can I outsource everything what I do except the very core business that needs that I'm the only one who can do it. So I'm gonna divide the presentation into 3 parts. First, I'm giving an overview how does an work week of ordinary knowledge worker look like today, and what are some of the underlying philosophies behind outsourcing. Second one, I'm gonna give my personal examples, some takeaways for you, what to outsource, how to think of it, what are some concrete stuff that I do every week. And finally, I'm gonna give examples of the industry standard services using virtual assistants and what are some of the differences there. So moving on with the first point, the work week of an ordinary knowledge worker. It's statistics, numbers, averages, but on average we spend 36% of our day reading emails. We check our emails 38 times per an hour. We have on average 2 meetings per day. And we are being interrupted in the office 53 times per day on average. And researchers have researched that it takes 3 minutes to actually context switch between the interruption and what you were originally doing. So when you do a calculation of 3 minutes times 53, you're spending over 2 hours just on interruptions per day on average. And nowadays it takes on average 42 minutes on Facebook. So how do we get work done in an environment like this? So just by being at the workplace doesn't mean that you get stuff done. You might be constantly interrupted by your colleagues, the inbox is full of emails, and you're stuck in dead-end meetings. So when we look at the high-performing individuals and how they differ from ordinary knowledge workers, one of the differences is that they have their assistants. So when we look at Obama here in the picture, you might think, what is Obama thinking there? I think he is having a thought about Pareto principle. Italian economist around 100 years ago expressed an idea that 20% of your time is the time when you get 80% of your results. And all that other unimportant tasks Obama is trying to give to her assistants, to his assistant, to his ministers, to different assistant teams. And that's how actually directors at corporations have used to work for a long time. But for startups, for individual professionals, assistants are sometimes out of reach. They're expensive, and you don't necessarily want somebody to be all the time physically in the same space. So that's why virtual assistants have become such a phenomenon. So virtual assistant is basically a professional assistant working remotely from their home office, and many times abroad. And especially in Finland, where the taxes and and payroll is very high, having an assistant from Asia, for example, is very, very affordable. So just to give you a few ideas of how you need to think when you use virtual assistants, I think everything starts from Tim Ferriss. How many of you read the 4-Hour Workweek book? Okay, half of you. This is a great audience. So even though it's still already quite many years old book, it's still very relevant. And the main idea is that you shouldn't focus on being busy all the time. You should focus on being productive. And that's all about virtual assistants as well. So having the time to think how you can actually outsource. Andy Stanley puts it in a neat way. So the less you do, the more you can enable other people to accomplish. And I really noticed this myself during the last few years. It has taken me the last 2 to 3 years to really start thinking differently. Start thinking how I can outsource the tasks that are sort of like under my hourly rate in a way. So I shouldn't be designing business card myself. I shouldn't be scheduling meeting myself. So anybody can do it, right? Paulo Coelho puts it in a way that by changing the way you do routine things, you allow a new person grow inside you. So that's all about the sort of business personality change you have to go through when adopting virtual assistants. Myself, I think virtual assistants are my samurais. Because as Brian Clemmer said, a compassionate samurai always follows its master. That's how good virtual assistants are. They get the things done. So moving to more concrete level. What do I outsource? I would say one of the most common things to outsource is web research. Putting together, Google spreadsheets of your potential clients or bloggers or something like that. Calendar management, having somebody to book meetings to you. Proofreading, getting quotes from catering services, email management, expense vouchers, video editing. That's been a fairly recent thing I found out to be actually quite easily to be outsourced. Travel bookings, design, and graphics. So I have 2 permanent assistants myself. Agnes is from Philippines, working for me on general administrative tasks. And she's very affordable. Philippines have very good work ethic. They speak very good English. So it's been a pleasure to work with Agnes. But the reality is that sometimes you just need Finnish-speaking assistants. When you want to book meetings in Helsinki, it's much more easier to have a Finnish-speaking assistant. So then Satu takes care of the tasks that need the Finnish specificity in the language. If I need some special skill, I have around 20 or 30 assistants in my network that I used to work with. So if I need some web research, Göran has done a great job, so I know I can trust him. Anna's been doing proofreading. Actually, we've implemented Anna as part of our organizational process in a way that when I write a blog post to Ambronite blog, before it's published, Anna goes there, logs into the web system and straight does the proofreading for me and lets me know when it's ready to be published. Matthew does some video editing, Tina some graphical illustrations, and so on. So really there's a lot of speaking about social capital nowadays and sort of like how important it is to have, not just skills on some specific task, but know people who can do different stuff. And I would say still 10, 20 years ago, it was quite difficult, quite time-consuming. Only privileged people could have the network. But today, if you use virtual assistants, for example, a year, you outsource different tasks, you outsource graphics, video editing, proofreading, you build relationships, you build trust. It's like building trust to anybody, your friends and family and so on. It's a relationship with the virtual assistant. You know what to expect, what they can deliver. Then when you need the video editing again, you can contact these people in the future. And you have all of those saved in the CRM of those virtual assistant platforms. So that's very neat. If you look at my last 3 months, how much I've spent to virtual assistants, roughly $1,300. The positive thing, though, is that 90% of that money is paid by my company. So it doesn't touch my personal wallet too much. So merely we're just upgrading the productivity of my companies here with a very, very small amount of money compared to the hours we get. So this was the first part of the presentation, and second one I'm going to talk about some of the personal examples. What are concrete things I'm outsourcing? So some good takeaways for you guys to think if it's something that takes a lot of your time. So most of us today, our work week look like we do 3 things. We read email, we schedule meetings, and we sit in these meetings. 3 things. If we can eliminate one of them, it saves a lot of time, and that's calendar management. So when I'm meeting somebody, I always CC my assistant to schedule the meeting, something that you probably seen many times if you're scheduling meetings with busy people. Actually, there is separate service even for this. So this new service called x.ai, that's the website address. You can get an assistant specifically just to schedule meetings. They're launching soon. So very easy, saves a lot of time. Moving on, web research, the most common thing I probably use. So I give you an example of this web research over here. I had some business to be done in Moscow 3 years ago. I had to understand the startup ecosystem in Moscow, like what are the most important startups, and how could I know? So I didn't have time to browse the internet for 5 days, but that's what I asked my virtual assistant to do. So actually Göran from Bosnia, who speaks perfect Russian, Googled 5 days in a row and put up an Excel for me. There's 100 startups from Moscow. Their name, their web URL, their CEO name, phone number of the company, and how much money they raised. So it cost me under $100, saved me tens of hours of work. Then what I did, I printed the Excel sheet on a paper, I went to Moscow and I had a dinner with my Russian colleague. I gave the paper to him and asked to underline the 10 most relevant companies related to my business. And that's what he did, and also overstrike the not relevant ones. And I had a perfect hit list of 10 companies where I could easily proceed. So, web research. Translation and subtitles. This actually goes way back a year and a half ago when we organized the first large Quantified Self and Biohacking event in Finland, in Trainer's House together with Jari Sarasvuo. And we intentionally organized the event in Finnish language because we wanted to set the terminology in place in Finnish language. And we still wanted to get the message out there for international audience. So what I did, I asked my virtual assistant to transcribe the text in Finnish, and then other virtual assistant to translate the text in English. And then it was easy for me to put on YouTube and have the translations over there. Food gathering quote, or asking for quotes for different stuff. It's also an interesting story. Roughly a year ago, I had my business friend from New York visiting in Finland, in Helsinki. First time here for him. He was actually organizing a weekend-long hackathon in Finland for 65 people. And he reached out to me before the event that, hey Mikko, I need to get food for 1 weekend for 65 people. What should I do? You know, he doesn't speak Finnish, he never been here, like where to order the food, what's the address, like how should I do it? So he asked this me over email. I replied to him, hey, here is my assistant, CC to this email, she will take care of everything. And what Satu actually did, she called to 7 restaurants, asked quotes like, hey, 65 people, what food you have, how much does it cost? And then he picked up the best offer there and presented it to my business friend in New York. And he just confirmed that, great, you know, absolutely amazing, can you take care of the rest? And then Satu ordered the food was there, and you know, like my time, my friend's time in New York was spent like 10 minutes, Satu took care of all of it. And I can just tell you how grateful my friend in New York was after that. And it took 5 minutes of my time. So getting quotes. Moving on, expense vouchers. So how many of you have been in a situation where you need to buy something for your company, but you need to do it with your own credit card and then get the expense back to your own account later? Please raise your hand. So almost everybody. So I'm pretty sure that most of you are pretty frustrated doing those calculations once in a month. It doesn't necessarily take more than 2 or 3 hours a month, but it's still like constant pain to do it. So let me explain how I do it myself. So when I go buy something from a store for my company, I get the paper receipt. I take my iPhone. I have an app called JotNot. I take a picture of the receipt, and it automatically scans the corners of the receipt. And with a few clicks, it's sent to my email. And it actually filters to a separate folder in email. And once in a month, I go to this folder. I select all the receipts, roughly 10 or 20 per month, and I forward them to Philippines, to Agnes. And she compiles a list and summary, all the PDFs together, and a summary page which I then forward to the accountant. So something that used to take 3 hours of my time once a month takes under 5 minutes today. Video editing outsourced. So before I start the video, this has been fairly recent for me. Like, how come can video editing be outsourced? I mean, it's very creative work. But that's true, but it's also very independent work. So at Ambronite, we've goofed around with GoPro cameras in different occasions a few times. So I had a 1 hour of raw video material. And I sent this to a virtual assistant and said that, hey, can you make a nice 1-minute clip out of it? So for under $100, this is something what he did. So there's no music now. As you can see, it's very simple, but still smooth editing. And you know, we were cruising with Ari Huusela on Atlantic, not Atlantic, but next to Helsinki, because Ari Huusela was actually sailing solo over Atlantic and just reached the destination a few days ago. So this kind of video for under $100, we just goofed around with GoPro camera. Everything was done virtually. So pretty neat. Moving on to some more special cases. This is an interesting one. So maybe during the 90s we were thinking that it's such a relief that we don't have to go to banks anymore. We can do the online banking. And, well, nowadays everything is online. I mean, you spend tons of time doing the basic stuffs online. Whereas I believe that the best online banking service is the one you don't have to even log in. So what I mean with this, when I get invoices to my inbox, like PDF invoices that I would need to log in and pay normally, I send them to my virtual assistant. I get my inbox emptied very quickly on that part. And it cost me $1 per bill. Also, if there's some products I need to buy, I don't go to browse the different web shops and waste my time there. I send a one-line email to my assistant that, hey, I need this new clicker or I need a new Stetson hat. And please find the cheapest place to order it for me and then just order it for me. So how she can pay? Well, at Nordea we have a shared bank account where I always put a moderate amount of money. Not too much, you know, some hundreds of euros, so I can ask her to do some small web shopping for me. So these were just a glimpse of things you can do with virtual assistants, and you know, it's just up on your creativity what you want to do. And it's taken me, you know, some months, maybe 2 years to be, you know, as creative as I am today. But it's a skill you can learn, so there's nothing magical about it. And when you just learn online how to do it, you will become better and better. So a few words about different virtual assistant services. So there are a lot of international services. I would say the most common one is Elance. How many of you have heard Elance? Oh, well, I'm surprised. Okay, half of you have heard Elance. I want to ask, how many of you have actually outsourced something over Elance? Please raise your hand. Amazing, like I would say 20 hands. So how does it work? It's very low risk. So you write your task there, just like you would write something for your colleague. Like, hey, I need this web research to be done, this Excel to be compiled, and then you just click send. And what you get offers from different people. There might be like James from US saying that, hey, I can do this web research for you for $300. And after 2 minutes, there is Abu from India saying that, hey, I can do this for you $30. And you can compare the profiles, you can see the ratings, and feel like who's a good job and who is worth paying for. So then you just, actually, before you select any one of these, there hasn't been any need to pay any money yet. So you pay at the moment when you select somebody to actually do it. So that's Elance. I think it's more used on a task-based manner, so you get offers in a lump sums, okay, so that it takes like $300 to do something instead of hourly rate. But then again, other big service called Odesk is probably more people use it in a time-based manner, hourly rate-based manner. But they're very similar, and actually these two companies merged together some time ago, but they're still in different brands and different services. A little bit different business model is Zirtual. Zirtual is a US-based virtual assistant company. And the value proposition of Zirtual is that you get US college-educated virtual assistant. So, you know, somewhat smart guy there. You can trust that he probably can take care of even a bit more difficult tasks. And they sell personal virtual assistant time, fixed time for fixed price per month. So for example, 8 hours of personal virtual assistant time, something a bit over $200. I know that Teemu actually uses Zirtual and some other friends of mine, and they've been satisfied with it as well. So today I'm here actually also, I have many Stetsons or many hats, Ambronite and the main organizer, but also I recently co-founded V-assistentti.fi service together with Sami Honkonen, and we provide Finnish-speaking virtual assistant service. So there always has been the times that you need the native Finnish speaker to take care of something, and it's been sort of a problem for me and Sami, even though we've been familiar with the international services for some time already. So that was the reason why we wanted to lower the barrier to get virtual assistants for Finns. And we have the same model as Zirtual, so there is 8 hours per month, personal virtual assistant time, for fixed price. And today we have a Christmas special, Biohacker Christmas special. So if you order the service for Christmas present for your friend or for yourself, not giving some materialistic present and stuff nobody needs, you can give freedom to your friends. So having 4 times of personal virtual assistant time for 49 euros plus VAT. So that's our offer today. And we've been up and running only for roughly 2 months now. Our philosophy with Sami is that as long as running this service takes less than 4 hours every week, it's a nice pet project for both of us as we have our main job. And we've been quite successful with that. And actually interesting note, when we already were up and running and we had customers, we counted with Sami that we had met each other during the development of the service 2 times. So everything was done virtually, Skype, and using, of course, virtual assistants. So very quick to set up new companies. So some of our customers, Alfred, professor from University in Turku, and Linda Liukas, entrepreneur and children's book author. Also Antti Merilehto, sales director, and a lot of celebrities actually, and corporate directors. So it's been interesting to see how these people have liked the services, and you can find the references on the website. So moving on, if this is an interesting topic for you, most of you have already read Tim Ferriss. Those of you who haven't, I warmly recommend to skim it through. It's a very fascinating book. And also, if you speak Finnish, we have a Facebook group called 4 tunnin työviikko, or 4-hour work week in Finnish, where people can share their experiences using different virtual assistant services, some sharing their experiences, what they've outsourced, what they learned, do they have any recommendations. So feel free to join there and come to learn more about virtual assistants. And that's about the presentation. So think about your productivity. It doesn't happen by being busy. It happens by leaving room to think how other people, how virtual assistants can accomplish your dreams and be part of your business, and also helping with your personal time. Thank you very much.